your path, Lord, to follow without fainting, bowing at your throne, Lord, and never looking back. Amarte sola ti, Signor. Amarte sola ti, Signor. Amarte sola ti, Signor. Y no mirar atrás, seguir tu camino, Señor. Seguir sin desmayar, Señor. Postrado ante tu altar, Señor, y no mirar atrás. Seguir tu camino, Señor. Seguir sin desmayar, Señor. Postrado ante tu altar, Señor, y no mirar atrás. I love only you, Lord. I love only you, Lord. I love only you, Lord. My heart wants only you. To follow in your path, Lord, to follow without fainting, bowing at your throne, Lord, and never looking back. To follow in your path, Lord, to follow without fainting, bowing at your throne, Lord, and never looking back.
Here we are once again, my brothers and sisters. God bless you for attending another Living Hope Today study. Today, we find ourselves in Leviticus 20. Let me ask you a question. When you go to church, is your pastor emphasizing happiness, health, or is he emphasizing heaven? Maybe. There's really nothing wrong with emphasizing all those things, but what we're going to find out today in Leviticus 20 is God emphasizes holiness. In fact, that's been the theme of the whole book of Leviticus. How can a sinful people be made right, be brought into God's presence? Well, God is willing to cleanse us, forgive us, bring us to that place where we're acceptable to Him. But our job is to pursue holiness. And today we're going to see what God says about those who refuse to follow that command. The Lord says to Moses, again, this chapter starts like so many others. This isn't Moses' opinion. It's not his good ideas. This is God himself speaking. Say to the Israelites, any Israelite or alien, that means a foreigner, living in Israel who gives any of his children to Molech. They used to sacrifice children in these pagan rituals. I'm sure you've heard of it. Well, God does not want his people to fall into these pagan practices. So, anybody who sacrifices his children to Molech, what are we going to do to that person? We're going to kill them. They must be put to death. The people of the community are to stone him. All right, not only is he to be put to death, but he's to be made an example, and the whole community in agreement is supposed to join in together to kill him as a unit, not just an individual. He's not sent to the executioner. The community itself rejects that behavior and eliminates that behavior by putting the offender to death. God says, I will set my face against that man. I will cut him off from his people, for by giving his children to Molech. What has he done wrong? Well, he's defiled my sanctuary. He's profaned my holy name. In other words, God considers this a direct attack on him. Why? Because he's the giver of life. He's the one that gave that child life. Who has the right to take that life? Not any man. All right? If the people of the community close their eyes, in other words, we ignore the offense, when that man gives one of his children to Molech and they fail to put him to death, in other words, if this isn't obeyed, what I'm telling you, I will set my face against that man and his family and will cut off from their people both him and all who follow him in prostituting themselves to Molech. So God is definitely opposed to the man, but God says, I'm going to be opposed to everybody that follows that guy too. So you adopt the error because you think that guy is okay, and you might even agree that that's an acceptable thing to do. God says, not in my house. This isn't going to be like that. You know, we have this idea that God is going to tell us, oh, I love you so unconditionally, you can do whatever you want, and I'm not going to respond. It's all right. Just make any mistake you want. Ignore my word as much as you want. Live however you feel like living, and everything's going to be fine. Well, that would certainly not reflect the direction of Leviticus 20. God says, no, you cross this line, you're going to die. I will set my face against the person who turns to, oh, here's another example, mediums and spiritists. Hasn't God already told us he's a jealous God? Hasn't he told us not to make any idols before him? If we get involved with these tarot cards, Ouija boards, mediums, spiritists, seances, these things are directly from the devil. And God says, my people aren't going to be involved in that. Maybe the pagan nations are pursuing those things, but not my people. No. And anybody who does do that to prostitute himself by following them, I will cut him off from his people. Unacceptable. Consecrate yourselves. Be holy. Why? Because I'm the Lord your God. I know how you need to live to experience life to its fullest, but also to maintain relationship with me. Set yourself apart. God's continual theme in this book actually is theme through the whole Bible. Keep my decrees and follow them. I am the Lord. Hey, look at this. I'm the one who makes you holy. That's an insightful verse, isn't it? 20 verse 8. You can't be holy on your own. God's not telling you if you do everything perfectly right, you yourself can earn your holiness. No, he wants obedience, yes, but he's the one that makes us holy. He's the one that cleanses us, forgives us, brings us to himself. He's the one that's been offended by our sin. It's his to forgive us. If anyone curses his father or mother, wow, this is pretty strong, isn't it? You want to think badly, curse your parents, guess what? God says, if you have that in the people of Israel, if you have that in the camp, that person needs to be killed. We're not going to do that. He has cursed his father or his mother, and his blood will be on his own head. In other words, his death is the direct result of his behavior. We have accountability. We don't have any plea bargaining, right? Don't cross this line, God says. If you do, you are sentencing yourself to death. Your blood's on your own head. If a man commits adultery with another man's wife and the wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. So here we come with another sin, a sexual sin now. Adultery, sleeping with somebody that's not your spouse. What happens? God says it's a capital offense. We're not going to have that in my camp. We're not going to have the holy people of God practicing such pagan things. In our culture, adultery is absolutely acceptable to most people. I mean, it's common. If God was going to kill every adulterer, if this command carried into the modern day, who would still be alive? God says, look, I need you to be separate. I need you to be different than the pagan cultures that surround you. If a man sleeps with his father's wife, he's dishonored his father. All right, so either your mom or your stepmom, right? You're sleeping with them. Both the man and the woman must be put to death. So the one who initiates and the one who consents both die. Because God's not going to have it. Their blood will be on their own heads. They know that crossing that line is a capital offense. They cross it. They sign their own death warrant. This is how strongly God feels about disobeying him in the arena of sex. He is absolutely adamant about it. If a man sleeps with his daughter-in-law, both of them must be put to death. Look at this. And God is super serious about the penalties associated with sexual sin. What they have done is perversion. Again, we see that line, their blood will be on their own heads. We don't care about passion. We don't care about, well, I love this person more than I love my spouse, or I have feelings. No, we care about what you do. God says you cross this line, you die. If a man lies with a man, we're about to celebrate Pride Month in America. It's kind of incredible, isn't it? I mean, the independence of the country gets a day. President Lincoln frees the slaves. He gets a day. Well, he has to share his day with George Washington for President's Day. People die in combat trying to defend the freedom of this country. Well, okay, you can have a whole weekend. We'll call it Memorial Day weekend. Oh, you're gay? You want to celebrate your sexual perversion? Oh, let's have a whole month for you. This is how warped our country is. Listen to this. If a man lies with a man, you don't have to be an Old Testament Hebrew scholar to understand what that is saying. As one lies with a woman, God says, let me just make sure it's clear. Both of them have done what is detestable. What does that mean? God doesn't like that. He didn't design people for that kind of behavior. He detests that kind of behavior. And the penalty in the Old Testament, they must be put to death. And again, the same line, their blood will be on their own heads. God's saying what? I will not accept that. I mean, in the modern age, we live in the delusion that God's so happy with us because we're doing whatever we want. We live in freedom. Oh, in fact, we say God made us like this. The Bible would completely contradict that, and I don't care how you massage these texts, you cannot get to where this is acceptable behavior. In the Old Testament, Leviticus 20, verse 13, it's not only forbidden, it's punishable by death. If a man marries both a woman and her mother, wow, it's wicked. Both he and they must be burned in the fire. Man, wow, not just put to death, but let me show you how to do it. Burn them so that no wickedness will be among you. There is the goal again. I want holiness, is what God keeps saying. If a man has sexual relations with an animal, he must be put to death, and you must kill the animal. God is going to remove bestiality even to the point of killing the animal. We're not going to have anything like that in our community. If a woman approaches an animal to have sexual relations with it, kill both the woman and the animal. They must be put to death. There it is again, capital punishment. Their blood will be on their own heads. God is so adamant. I hope you're catching it. If a man marries his sister, now we're talking about incest, the daughter of either his father or his mother, and they have sexual relations, it's a disgrace. They must be cut off before the eyes of their people. Notice that this doesn't include capital punishment. Before the eyes of their people, he has dishonored his sister, and he's going to be held responsible before God for that behavior. If a man lies with a woman during her monthly period and has sexual relations with her, he has exposed the source of her flow, and she has also uncovered it. Both of them must be cut off from their people. Again, God has tremendous things to say about just blood in general. He knows it's the life, and there's something involved in this action that God says, no, this is not the way. Don't do that. Don't have sexual relations with the sister of either your mother or your father, for that would dishonor a close relative. Both of you would be held responsible. Again, notice how the punishment seems to be dwindling a little bit. God is still holding people responsible for their disobedience. If a man sleeps with his aunt, he has dishonored his uncle, they will be held responsible. They will die childless. If a man marries his brother's wife, it's an act of impurity. He has dishonored his brother. They will be childless. Keep all my decrees, here we go, and laws, and follow them. Why? So that the land where I am bringing you to live may not vomit you out. Consider this, church. The very land that we live on can be polluted by our evil. That's what God's saying. In fact, that land might just spit you out. It's so fascinating to think about that we pollute not just our own souls and our own bodies through our disobedience, we actually pollute the land. You must not live according to the customs of the nations. Again, this is a big deal to God. I don't want you adopting their practices. I don't want you to intermarry with them. Consecrate yourself. Be separate. You must not live according to the customs of the nations. I'm going to drive out before you because they did all these things, and I abhorred them. Don't be like them. But I said to you, you will possess their land. I will give it to you as an inheritance, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God who has set you apart from the nations. Notice this verse, church. God's going to give them the land. He's going to separate them. And as long as they maintain that distinction and pursue holiness as feebly and full of fault as they can pursue holiness, nonetheless, God's going to keep them holy. God's going to open doors of blessing for them. They're going to have a land flowing with milk and honey, and He's going to set them apart from all the nations. He's going to use the Jewish people, the Israelites, as an example of what it means to follow Him. But His people have to be in compliance with what He's told them. You must therefore make a distinction between clean and unclean animals, between unclean and clean birds. Don't defile yourselves by any animal or bird or anything that moves along the ground, those which I have set apart as unclean for you. Remember, we've already seen a bunch of that information in chapters 11 through 15. You are to be holy to me. Here it is. Be holy to me. This is God's command, because I, the Lord, am holy. In other words, you're not pursuing holiness because it's a good thing to do, although it is a good thing to do. The motivation is pursue holiness because you're modeling my character. That's who I am. I am holy. And guess what? I've set you apart. You're mine. I've set you apart from the nations to be my own. What a beautiful privilege that could be realized if obedience characterized the people. God says, a man or a woman who is a medium or a spiritist among you, oh, we're back to capital punishment for any sort of spiritual activity outside of serving God himself. You have to put them to death. You're to stone them. Their blood will be on their own heads. And that's the end of the chapter. What do we learn? God takes holiness super serious. Do we? I think there's a big lesson for us here, church. Do we? We expose ourselves to all kinds of cultural trash, things that don't lead us to building us up spiritually. We just ingest the culture through media and other things, internet, whatever we're pursuing. God says, look, be holy. Offer yourself as a living sacrifice to me. Follow me. Be separate. That applies to us today. Serve him well, church, and God bless you.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who he is? He's the image of the invisible God, and he's the brightness of his glory, the first, the last, the future, the past.